want to talk to you about 3 fundamental principles of motivation. The first and foremost is you, the teacher. It's absolutely critical for a Christian teacher to recognize that this is a child that Christ died for. It gives that child infinite worth, infinite value. Part of self-esteem, particularly of a young child, happens as a function of reflected image by a significant other. The view that you hold toward that child helps to define to that child who they are. And if you see them as having worth and value, capable of making a contribution for good in this world, that child will pick up on it. They will sense that. And they will sense the fact that God has created them as a unique and special person, that He has a plan for their life, and that they have the capability of doing good as an instrument of Christ. And it's absolutely critical that you believe that. You know, you don't know if that child could become another Mother Teresa, or another Martin Luther King, or another Billy Graham, or another Pope Francis, or whoever your heroes may be. And what you are doing is being an instrument, being somebody that teaches and stimulates and believes in that child. It's absolutely critical that you do this. In our program, we structure what we call time with my teacher. In our program, it's 5 minutes, where you have no other supervisory responsibility but of meeting the needs of that child. And it happens in part as a function of prayer. I believe teaching is a ministry calling. And if God has called you to be a teacher, then He will empower you and prepare you and guide you as you pray to meet the needs of that individual child. There are 3 primary objectives in this time with my teacher. The first objective and foremost objective is spiritual growth and development. As a function of having prayed for that child, if the Lord has showed you something to share through the Holy Spirit, then there isn't anything more critical than that, to minister to the spiritual needs of that child. Now, that's not going to happen all the time. And it's not the latest thing you heard on Sunday morning. It's not your own agenda. But it's a function of you having prayed for that child. If the Lord has impressed something on your heart to share, there isn't anything more important to do than to share that spiritual truth. The next is emotional and social growth and development. If you see a child who is beginning to blossom in a particular area, maybe it's sharing, maybe it's taking responsibility and picking up after themselves, showing acts of kindness, showing an awareness of the environment, doing something good to be able to recognize that emerging character quality, praise and validate it. And it just helps it blossom within that child. You know, human nature isn't all good. And if you begin to see the emergence of a negative attitude in an embryonic state, that if it's allowed to manifest itself, will potentially cause that child suffering and pain later on. You have wisdom. As you've overcome difficulties, as you have overcome challenges, you have credentials to be able to minister the wisdom in trying to help that child overcome that potentially very bad attitude that will manifest itself in bad behavior. 5 minutes, and it allows you time to minister. The third objective is to work right on the cutting edge of what the child is learning. So what you're teaching through the exercises that you develop, the child will learn skills. But it's absolutely critical that you work with the child in a one-on-one situation to guarantee that they have mastery of that concept. You go over things that you know the child already knows, so it's a way of recognizing and validating the child, and it's also a way of reviewing to gain mastery or to assure continuous mastery. And then you're going to go into something that the child may not have mastery of. And at that point, you become a teacher. You can work on that concept, and you can drill on that concept. And so by the end of that 5 or 10 minute period, whatever you structure, that child has mastery of that concept. 3 things. First and foremost is spiritual growth and development, then social emotional growth, and then academic achievement. Most of the time it's going to default right to academic achievement, but it allows you to work right on the cutting edge of where that child is learning. I want to just say this one more time. The most critical element in the program is you as a teacher. You're loving that child, you're believing in that child, and you're offering good, sound instruction.